If we do see this liquidity enter into crypto, what kind of narratives do you think will perform best and what kind of crypto assets?
The narrative I think that's really sexy this time around is a fundamental season.
A recent Substack article that you posted, there was one paragraph which was like the kind of bull market math. What is the math and where are we in this equation?
The math is always the same, money printing. I think Bitcoin, based on historical relationships with the amount of credit created, will move up or down this amount.
For a lot of people that are watching, they've probably not heard of the term decentralized science yet.
Decentralized science is literally just like, instead of a government or a university funding a question and the answer, the bioprotocol allows DAOs to create these tokens where you can participate in the upside, assuming that the experiment goes well and there's some sort of commercially viable thing on the back end.
Well, joining me is an absolute pleasure to be joined with the one and only Arthur Hayes from Maelstrom. Arthur, thank you so much for joining on such a busy schedule. How are you doing?
I'm excellent.
This is our first in real life interview. We've had like many online conversations. This is the first time we're sitting down in the hot seat. First of all, I have to ask, because a recent Substack article that you posted, there was one paragraph which was like the kind of bull market math. And I think everyone watching is like avidly now leaning and going, the bull market math with Arthur Hayes. What is the math and where are we in this equation?
The math is always the same, money printing. So how much money will a particular central bank or government agency print? We can apply some math to that.
Yes.
And then we say, oh, well, I think Bitcoin, based on historical relationships with the amount of credit created, will move up or down this amount. And so I posted a chart, I think it was like Bitcoin at $3.4 million. And, I said the Fed was going to print like something like 15 trillion. And I used a historical slope from COVID times, and that got me to this number. Well, I think, I hope, that'd be nice. But I think I'm all about getting directionally correct. And then, we see what happens. But I'm not wedded to a particular number. I know humans like, round whole numbers with base 10 ending in zeros or fives. So that's why I always pick a number like that.
Yeah, we've got trillions in there. We've got some billions in there. We're going big. We're going big or going home. So you mentioned kind of trillions, quantitative, moving into like liquidity cycles. If we do see trillions enter into like the liquidity, what will that do to, let's start with Bitcoin, but then also how will that compare to what we could see with stocks and gold, for example?
So I think Bitcoin will continue to be the best performing asset ever. Now, obviously within crypto, you might get 1,000x in some shitcoin or whatever. But from the largest asset will continue to be the largest asset. Maybe Bitcoin dominance goes down a bit if Ethereum catches a bit or some of the other major tokens. But I still believe Bitcoin is going to perform extremely well. Maybe we get a 10 or 20x from these levels if we get that level of money printing. And then versus everything else, Bitcoin will be the best performing. So since 2009, it's been the best performing asset. Tom Lee was on stage talking about, putting Bitcoin up there with stocks and the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and it's outperformed all these things. So if you believe that the money printing is going to happen, then crypto, Bitcoin, these are the best things to own. Yes, your stocks will go up. Maybe your government bonds will go up. Gold will go up. But the point is to make the most money you can given a belief in a particular outcome.
Bitcoin, best performing asset of all time. Let's go. Now, if we look at kind of focusing in on the crypto space, so we've got different crypto sub-narratives. So you've got kind of like different layer ones, DeFi protocols. If we look at crypto specifically, I know you've mentioned Bitcoin will be the top dog, the top performer. But if we do see this liquidity enter into crypto, what kind of narratives do you think will perform best and what kind of crypto assets and in what order? If we're asking via a kind of crypto bull, give us the info. What are you thinking?
The narrative I think that's really sexy this time around is fundamental season. We're all about cash flows.
Yeah.
So if you think about the best performing new issue of this cycle, it's been Hyperliquid.
Yeah.
Why? Because they take 97% of their revenue, they buy back their token, and so the hype token holders are participating in the upside with the protocol itself because it generates revenue. And I think after 10 years of doing token investing, we're tired of investing in things that have no clients, that make no money. And the token, gives us no actual real cash flows. But if we have these DeFi applications that hopefully millions and billions more people use over the next couple of years, then the projects that take that revenue and give it back to the token holders, whether it's through emissions or buybacks, those are the ones that are going to do very, very well. And we've seen that happen in this past cycle.
So strong governance and strong community incentives, which is actually really impressive that we're still seeing this in 2025 in a kind of a different narrative, which is amazing. I'm curious to ask now when it comes to, because you've mentioned Bitcoin will be the top performer. It will outperform stocks and gold. If we see this liquidity continue to flow into the markets, how will this perform when it comes to Bitcoin as a strategic asset? The last 18 months, from a conversation that we've heard continuously across the board, Could this be a point that we see even more corporations, but also like G20 governments? Is this going to be a changing wind for Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, as an asset class in some of these government holdings?
I think the corporates will play the corporate finance game of putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, do some funky corporate stuff, issue, debt or whatever equities, and buy more crypto. I think that, MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor have made that a popular choice. And so around different equity markets around the world, they'll start having the digital asset treasury companies, the DATs, proliferate in those particular markets.
Now moving back into crypto and the landscape in crypto, because I think one thing that we've seen that you've also said has always been really pivotal for crypto's heartbeat is leverage. And leverage is like a real prominent part of DNA. How are we seeing leverage play out differently in 2025 for crypto as opposed to in previous years? And how will that impact what we could possibly see with like institutions onboarding crypto at a higher level?
So leverage has always been here. And obviously, Binance and BitMEX, we make a lot of money doing leverage. It's cheaper now. So if you take a look at the Athena rate, and this is basically capturing how much it costs for you to go long crypto, essentially, right? And crypto's been up only on a long-term, medium-term basis since it was created in 2009. So that's why speculators are willing to pay an interest rate to get long Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever, right? Yeah. So this rate has come down. It's much cheaper to borrow money and go long. Therefore, the amount of open interest in derivative contracts continues to grow. So I think that as we make the price of leverage cheaper, the price of money cheaper than crypto, people will express their views using more and more leverage, higher open interest, whether it's on a SEX or a DEX. And so I think that this really powers, more proliferation of derivatives.
Amazing. So it's a super exciting time, but if there's one element of the crypto industry that you think is either undervalued or maybe waiting to kind of explode in terms of excitement or adoption, are you able to identify any of those? Is there something that we should be keeping an eye out for and for everyone that's watching at home?
Obviously, I think a new narrative is decentralized science. Bioprotocol is something that's quite interesting, and people are coming together to fund, project scientific questions and answering them, and hopefully there's a commercial thing on the back end where they can make money. But I think this is a new narrative of how we can take this community funding aspect of crypto, apply it to how we fund science, and maybe take it out of government and large company control.
Fantastic. For a lot of people that are watching, they've probably not heard of the term decentralized science yet. So they're wondering how would that be broken down, and how can retail, how can the normies, how can they learn more and get involved? So
the decentralized science is literally just like, instead of a government or a university funding a question and the answer, it's, hey, I want to figure out how to make a better dick pill. So I'm going to fund that because I want to make the next Viagra. Will you come and give me some money so I can ask this question in a different way? And basically the bioprotocol allows DAOs to create these tokens where you can participate in the upside, assuming that the experiment goes well and there's some sort of commercially viable thing on the back end.
Fantastic. Well, Arthur, thank you so much for taking time out of a super busy schedule. It's always most appreciated, and we'll hope to catch you at the next event. Thank you.